Hi everyone, welcome to the D-Line. My name is Malibongwe. With me to speak football today again, it's Herman, Gibbs and Mihlali Baleka, our independent football scribes. You all know the D-Line is soon to be everyone's favorite football podcast. Without further ado, gentlemen, greetings.
Good afternoon, Malibongwe.
Yes, good morning everyone, and thank you for having us again.
I can see you guys are smiling. Football is good all around for South Africans.
No, it truly is. I think for all Africans at this moment.
When South Africa smiles, everyone rejoices.
The continent's bright up as well.
Yes. Maybe, gentlemen, let's get into it. Starting up north, we saw the CAF Champions League quarterfinals this week. Mamelodi Sundowns went through to the semis, going over Esperance. We saw Orlando Pirates also going over MC Alger, and they are through to the semis end of the Champions League. And Stellenbosch, of course, went through to the semis of the Confederation Cup when they beat the Giants of Egypt, Zamalek. Maybe just to take us through that, your reactions on that one. Everyone is envisaging an all South African final as much as the Champions League is concerned.
Yes, Sundowns got us off to a good start of the three teams. It was a tremendous performance there because, they've got to be dealing with all kinds of factors. And it was wonderful to see that at the end of the match, this hostile crowd in Tunisia actually applauded Sundowns off the field. Whereas they went after their own players when they came off, pelted them with bottles and whatnot. So it was quite ugly. But it was quite strange to see them applauding Sundowns.
Yes. No, that was good because it just gives you a bit of a picture that maybe it was all in the sportsmanship manner. But again, at Orlando Pirates, we saw that at Orlando, we saw same scenes. But Mihlali, before we get to that one, everyone is imagining that all-African final, which by the records it seems only happened once in the history of the Champions League. What are our chances there, as much as Pirates and Sundowns perform is concerned?
I think our chances are very good, especially the fact that, Sundowns are a side that know Al-Ahly very well. I think they've beaten them, probably in the last 7 outings, if I'm not mistaken, also, but they have a decent good record of note. So with them playing the semi-final, the first one, then I think Sundowns should actually fancy their chances of reaching the final for the first time since they won it in 2016. And coming to Pirates, what a run they've had in the Champions League. They remain the only unbeaten side, and I think we as South Africans as well never thought that they would actually make it this far, given the fact that this was only their first time in the group stages, I think, after a while. Their first time in the knockout stages, I think, since 2013, if I'm not mistaken, the last time that they actually went to the final and lost to Al-Ahly. So for them to actually have gone this far and remain the only unbeaten side, what a run that coach Jose Rivero and his side have had. So they will play Pyramids, another side from Egypt, in the semi-finals. So we are hoping that, having gone to Cairo, beaten the reigning African champions, the record holders, Al-Ahly. So we are hoping that they will go there visiting Pyramids and then actually get a good result. And obviously come back to Orlando, maybe if the first leg would be based on where they played, and then get another good outing at Orlando Stadium. I think one other thing that is shown on Wednesday, it was a midweek game, but the Ghost and the South Africans became one and actually rallied behind the team, and that was a good a result for Orlando Pirates.
Yeah, and not leaving out Stellenbosch there, Mr. Gibbs. Their first trial on the CAF competition, and here they are in the semi-finals of the Confed Cup.
You made a good point there about. You made a good point there about the midweek attendance, because we saw the week before when Sundowns was home, they also had a tremendous crowd turning up for an afternoon game. So that was very significant. So coming back now to your question about Stellenbosch, They're surprising everybody. They are putting up this tremendous performance, and I must also add, although I haven't seen it in any of the reports, this Zamalek team was extremely weak. They
No,
were
Mr. Gibbs,
completely.
you should apologize for what you said on the D-line last week. You wrote them out. You should apologize.
Yes, I know. But no one thought that this Zamalek would be
Yeah.
so weak. I mean, they've now called on the coach, but they were out sprinted, they were outplayed. There was just no fighting in this team. And it was a good thing that that CAF decided to limit the numbers at the stadium. Otherwise, there would have been trouble. If they were allowed all 65 seats to be filled, there would have been a problem. But I think they had a capacity of 30,000.
Yeah.
But this Stellenbosch team is very, very well supported, and if you speak to them before a match, they'll tell you exactly what they can expect. They've done the analysis on the opposition team down to the finest points. They know exactly what they're going to be up against. And also they've got a tremendous technical staff who are very well qualified in all aspects of the game. And then something that never been mentioned, also the recruitment people. They are really bringing some excellent players to the club, even though if you look at one or two of those players who came from Galaxy, they weren't stars. But once they come to Stellenbosch, they turn out to be much better players, because I think Stellenbosch has got the ability to bring the best out of these players because of their training systems, their support systems, which has all been linked to the sports training center in Stellenbosch.
And maybe one.
And maybe just to add to Mr. Gibbs, I think also the influence of having someone like Coach Pitso visiting you, just before such a big quarterfinal. I mean, Coach Pitso has done it all in African football, having won multiple Champions League. So his influence also, to the team, and also what it would mean to go to Cairo and actually get away with the result. I think that was also very important for the team.
I know you make a very valuable point there, Mihlali. Maybe it was a masterstroke on their behalf. But gentlemen, without dwelling much on the Champions League and the CAF football exploit for South Africa, there's also the question of, like Mr. Gibbs has touched on earlier on, the third guy we are seeing from the North Africans. I mean, when will CAF say something? Because one can imagine that before the semi-finals, something should be out. Security systems will have to be built, obviously. I mean, what can one really say, and when can we really expect CAF to act on this one?
Yeah, I think now that the quarterfinals are done and dusted, I think there will be action from CAF. I think there was strong criticism that CAF should have said something after the first legs were played.
Yes.
But I think there were so many things to look at and to investigate that it maybe wasn't the right time to do. But it's also happened that all the teams who were offended, they lost in the quarterfinal. So you cannot take action against them, because imagine if they took action against these teams after the first leg. I mean, some of their behavior warrants suspension. Yes. So CAF could have kicked them out of the competition. So now they're saving themselves all their trouble, because these teams are now out. They can suspend them. That suspension can carry over till next year. So give them massive monetary fines.
Yep.
Also order the next games next season to be played behind closed doors, things like that.
Yeah.
So
yes. I was also going to say that point is valid, but you also need to put the guidelines for the semi-finals, because if the quarterfinals were tense, then the semi-finals will be even more tense.
Yeah, no, they look, what they did was, although CAF never made an official announcement, but after the first legs, CAF met via Zoom meeting all the representatives of the of the quarterfinal clubs, and they had a meeting, and they were told what to do and what to expect, and given a briefing of what security arrangements were put into place. So things were slightly better, but it still didn't stop what happened. For example, in Johannesburg, and the strange thing is that I heard that the start of all the problems in Johannesburg was that the visiting fans, they started fighting amongst themselves at the start.
Yeah. Mihlali, your take on that one?
Yeah, no, I was just like with you as well. I covered the Pirates and MC Alger game. And like Mr. Gibbs rightfully says, they started to fight among themselves. And then obviously when that happened, escalated with them, obviously fighting with the Pirates supporters. And then just after that, it went onto the field where the players started to pay for the blood of the referee. I think Ibrahim Traore from Ivory Coast. And then when the Pirates security personnel, together with the subs, the South African Police Service, came into the pitch to try and actually, just to cushion the referees and looks them away. Then that fight now turned among, the two teams. I remember seeing one of the Pirates coaches also, just in action and all that. And then suddenly it was the players. It was just everyone, But at the time, you could still see that this could be contained because you expect this to be, handled appropriately, easily resolved because it's just officials and players from both teams. But it didn't. Instead, it actually, worsened. And then there was a time that, the Pirates supporters jumped onto the pitch. But by the time then, the Pirates, all the players, I think all the technical staff as well, had run down to the tunnel. But when we got there, the officials from the MC Alger team started to fight with the South African media journalists when they were starting to capture the moments, taking the videos and all that, whereas they were doing that at their own as well. So it was intense at some point, and luckily there were no fatalities that were reported. There could have been injuries of some sort and all that. But yeah, just getting back to your point, I'm with you there that I think CAF, just before the start of the semi-final, I actually wrote in our editions and our titles this week that CAF should make a stance to actually punish the perpetrators of the incident that happens in the quarterfinal before the start of the semi-final. That would actually set a tone to the rest of the four teams that if by any chance you manage to to contravene the regulations and rules that have been put into place, then this is what will happen to you, and even further. And Mr. Gibbs rightfully says that a CAF safety and security division had a meeting this week to discuss with all the quarterfinalists that having seen what happened in the first leg, it must just happen in the second leg. It's just so unfortunate that what happens now, what happened in Orlando, is just after the meeting was held, and also after the club officials of MC Alger had been told as to know what and what not to do when they come and visit South Africa. Yeah. So really, it's not a good image for South African football, and I think really the rule book must be thrown at the perpetrators of everything that occurred, in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, as we watch the space there, as to what CAF will say further ahead of the semi-finals. We've got our own semi-finals to worry about at home. You've got the high flyers, Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates both playing. Sundowns taking Kaizer Chiefs in that evening kickoff in the Netbank Cup semi-final, and you've got Pirates. But maybe let's start with Sundowns. It's an ambitious approach, or an ambitious moment for both sides. One can say Chiefs maybe wanted more. Looking at that, they are facing this 10-year drought. They just won the cup in 2015, and then Sundowns maybe will be built by a shot at possible quadruple if you consider, a treble rather, if you consider the Champions League and the league, and then this Nedbank. They would want to win everything, especially ahead of the FIFA Club World Cup in June. Who actually wants it more in this case, Chiefs or Sundowns, ahead of Sunday's kickoff?
Well, the one thing that bothers me is that both the Sundowns and Pirates are on a high. And when they come back from the Champions League fixtures, they don't always seem to be on top of their game when they return to the domestic arena. They seem to struggle a bit.
Yeah.
And it's usually got to do with the team rotation. because the coaches are reluctant to play the same players who did duty in the Champions League, and that invariably were their best combination. So they bring in other fresh players who didn't play in those matches, but it doesn't always go well, and we see that Sundowns and Pirates end up winning on the last minute.
Yeah.
But somehow I think that both Sundowns and Pirates are starting to live with this situation, and their players are coping better as time goes on. So I can't see any upsets there. I feel sorry for Chiefs because this will also mean the end of their chance for glory, and that is going to, be could be catastrophic, because some clubs will say no. Our patience is now run out, and they might just go on the rampage again. Of late now, they've been holding back,
Yes.
but the anger is busy building up, and can't see it being restrained much longer if Chiefs don't win.
Yeah. No, that's an issue on its own, Mr. Gibbs. You're making a valuable point there about these teams, lowering the gauge when they come back from CAF. But then Mihlali would say something else. Looking at the fact that these are cups, it's not the league. This actually it's a cup semi-final. Can one actually
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think so. I think these are cup competitions won by smaller margins. I think this is where clean sheets and goals become important. And Pirates and Sundowns are two of the teams that have actually been able to do that, score goals and actually keep clean sheets. Like Mr. Gibbs have said, Sundowns have always had an upper hand over Chiefs. I think they've beaten them in 3 meetings already this season, twice in the league and then once in the Carling Knockout Cup. So I think another thing that we just maybe need to consider about this, like Chiefs, I think they had a good game in their last outing against Sundowns in that reveal. So if they are to build maybe on that momentum going to the game on Sunday against Sundowns in Hatfield, they might actually come away with something. During the press conference this week, Coach Nasruddin Nabi said that they are focused not entirely on winning the Netbank Cup. It's about completing the process. Yes, winning the Netbank Cup would be great for for the supporters and everyone, and the club and everyone. Give them a big confidence boost ahead of the remaining games in the league. But yeah, it depends on also what is the stance of the management in all of this. Are they saying that they told him that the mandate is to actually give us something at least in your first season, or just make it a point that you rebuild the team as much as you can, and then whatever that comes with that is a bonus? We don't know all those final details.
I laugh because when you say that, no Kaizer Chiefs fan would want to hear that. So
100%.
You must watch out for the fire brigade, as Mr. Gibbs yeah, but
yeah, 100%.
Let's move on to Pirates. I mean, they lost to Marumo Gallants. Rivero was sitting on the stands because of suspension. He's back now. We did hear him, and one of the stories that were written today that maybe on the IOL that at that time there was a bit of uncertainty about their style of play. Marumo Gallants. Now they had a new coach who was just coming in. Now they know them. I mean, that one going to that one as well. Pirates again are on the chance of a quadruple if you look at the Champions League, the MTN 8, Netbank Cup, and possibly the league at this stage. Maybe if we look at that one, what is the approach there for Marumo Gallants?
Look, you got to admire this Marumo Gallants coach. He started off on quite a high note with this team that's been battling with relegation issues for most of the season, and then he took Pirates down. So I think this man has got a lot to offer, and I think that on some days things will just go right for him. But it looks as if he's got a good game plan that is not always the same, by the way. He changes up with different opponents, and the team has been giving a good account of themselves. But I don't think they're strong enough to hold Pirates. I think this Pirates team is blossoming, and And I think there's no holding back. They'll be too strong for Gallants. They'll finish. They'll settle the result in the regulation time.
Indeed. Mr. Mihlali, Mr. Baleka, what is your take?
Yeah, no, I'm with Mr. Gibbs. I think Pirates will come away with the result, especially at home. But like Mr. Gibbs has already alluded that you cannot underestimate Marumo Gallants. I mean, they've had a good run in this competition as well. Remember, I think they won it against was it Chippa United? They were still there. Chakuma Chamadzimandira. I hope I just pronounced the word right. And then remember, there was a time when Dennis Malisela was the coach, and then went on to lose against Sundowns in the final. So like now they are again in the semi-final. So they've had a decent run in the competition. But yeah, with Coach Jose Rivero, at full steam, hoping to finish his tenure with the club on a very good high, and having never lost in this competition as well. I mean, having won back-to-back Netbank Cup, So I mean, the writing's on the wall for Pirates to just go, to the final and possibly meet, I don't know, whichever club between Sundowns and Chiefs. But I bet it's going to be quite an interesting final as well. But yeah, I foresee Pirates going through, and they should have enough legs to actually manage to grind out for the result. I mean, the last game on Wednesday gave them a morale, and then they've been, a breather between then and Sunday for them to actually, re-energize and actually be, at their best.
What you're doing right now, you are actually projecting a double final, Sundowns and Pirates final.
Yeah, likely.
You are looking at them in the Netbank Cup. You are also, crossing fingers for them to meet in the CAF Champions League.
I think the big one would be the Champions League, no doubt. I mean, imagine what that can do for South African football. That would be huge.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, will turn out to be the curtain raiser.
Yeah, imagine. Okay. Even better, Mr. Gibbs. Even better. I mean, there's still the league decider maybe to come at some point. Who knows?
I know.
Yeah, no. When I saw that violence at the Pirates match, I was quite concerned, because I said to my wife, I hope my colleague Mihlali doesn't run onto the field, because he's got a short fuse. He won't tolerate this. He'll tackle these people. They'll run all the way back.
Luckily, I was safe, Mr. Gibbs.
But I'm glad he stayed on his place in the media center.
Yeah, talking about the short fuse.
No, luckily, yeah.
Talking about the short fuse, Mr. Gibbs, we saw the Premier Soccer League giving really the long rope as much as their future is concerned within the top flights. Finally, even though they remain mum to confirm the result, finally Relium is reportedly expelled from the Premier Soccer League. And maybe just to look at that, what does this mean for especially teams in the division? There's talks of points being expunged, and some teams having to minimize the 12 gap from the top to a 9-point gap, with others still having games in hand. There's a lot of talk.
Yeah, look, if we look at the top of the log now, Pirates will be happy, because it's a very encouraging situation. Suddenly the gap has narrowed by 3 points. At the bottom of the log, the teams will have peace of mind, because nobody will be relegated. Whoever finished 15th will play in the playoff place, so those teams will feel quite strong about themselves. They will feel they'll be able to hold their own against the first division teams. And then the weird thing about this voting yesterday is that some clubs actually voted against the recommendation of the PSL, and it makes you wondering, what are these people thinking?
Yeah.
Are they saying, no, don't expel them, keep them on, for what? So that was quite weird.
Indeed, very weird. Mr. Baleka, did you not get a chance to go there? I mean, looking at this situation, no one is very clear as to what's going to happen now.
I was actually nearby. I was in Sentin as well yesterday for that Netbank Cup press conference. But unfortunately, I heard that the security was too tight. They didn't want anyone running around. I think, you could, because there were people that were sniffing around, from other media houses and all. But I don't think they had any access to whatever that was happening inside. Sure, you could always get your guy or your person on the phone and then to talk to them and all that. But I mean, I think it's been long coming for LAM. They've been, like you've said, like they've been given a rope to hang themselves, and they've done just that. Because remember when they also started, there was that fiasco of actually paying players on the pitch. It was just like, it was just like it was it was just like, I don't know how to describe it even. So with them now having just like been expelled, reportedly by the PSL, it maybe I think it's something to actually give everyone a clear head as to what is going to happen, just heading to the final stretch of the season. Because remember, I've always had situations whereby we had so many unresolved issues, backlogs that would end up the season either being delayed or stuff as to maybe there are pending cases that still need to be resolved. Remember when they're also in the promotion and relegation playoffs at some point, there was that case over Polokwane City, or who was the rightful champions and all that. But now with this matter now being resolved earlier, it gives also the PCDC, all the other chambers to actually get their house in order and actually make it a point that the league is finished in time, and then all the things that are done, and then when the time that it has to become with the relegation and actually promotion, playoff, everything else or more would be sorted by then. So yeah, it was just something that was always coming. It was always in the pipe. So I think it was a good decision for the PSL to quite make this decision earlier, so that everything's out of the way by the time the season concludes.
Yes. Then, Mr. Gibbs, we are closing it. I think
yes. Now I think everybody will be highly relieved that the situation has come to an end. There's no more uncertainty. Clubs know what's happening. And to the great relief of all the clubs, they'll also be playing less matches, and the season could even end sooner now, and give teams like Sundowns, Stellenbosch, and Pirates some breathing space as the season winds down.
Yeah, no, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Recording the D-Line for another interesting episode of the D-Line as we build up to a close of the season. Everything is becoming more interesting now. Hopefully, we get another chance next week. Hopefully, football stays as interesting as is. Over and out.